This is the Creative Narratives. I am Yara Monteiro Gaspar, and in today's video I'm gonna be talking about Heartstopper that was recently adapted and released in Netflix, and the importance of these light and soft stories that warm our hearts, that makes us warm inside. And don't worry, because I ain't giving any spoilers of Heartstopper. I just gonna mention some stuff that happens in the series. First of all, Heartstopper is a webcomic that was first published in physical format and recently had its Netflix adaptation. It was created, written, and drawn by Alice Useman, and that also wrote various other books about same characters in the same universe. And I'm actually really excited to read more of the things that she made. Heartstopper specifically tells the story of two boys, Charlie and Nick. Charlie had a quite difficult year in school after suffering bullying. When boys of his school discovered he was gay. But he's in a better place now, he's in a better phase in his life right now, and that's when he started having classes with Nick, and they start developing a friendship, and from there arises the story. It's super cute. And this is a story that marked me a lot because I've been following it since before it was published in physical format. And it was a story that had this lightness, this cuteness, and it helped me make my days lighter, especially at times when things were a little dark for me, because high school is there to end our mental stability. Yay! And I think that's the power of these cute stories, these soft stories that warm us inside, because sometimes we just need something to be happy and relaxed, and it's also nice to have something that the whole family can watch, And I think we all need more stories like this, these lighter, these cuter stories. And today's audiovisual market puts a lot of pressure on stories to be all grandiose and these instant successes with generic lucrative things, and I don't know, people who like this softer genre end up being left out, because there is definitely not so much content available, and because it's not such a mainstream audience, it's not something, these stories generally are not something so big. And the comics had already impacted me a lot, but then the series came along and renewed my love for the story. The creator, Alice Useman, is so careful and delicate, and when she talks about these serious subjects that are talked about in story, and the way she tells this love story between these two boys, it melts my heart. It's too beautiful, it's so cute, and the series shows a very beautiful, very healthy relationship which involves communication and growth on both sides. And let's encourage more stories like this, please. I need these stories with cute and healthy relationships. And actually, it's one thing you notice when you start consuming specific and cute content from the LGBT+ community, which is that you start to realize how toxic and unnecessary most of the strict relationship stories that we grew up watching TV are. I was born in the 2000s, and growing up, most of things I watched was from the 90s and the 2000s, and most of the time it was many toxic relationships, many toxic strict relationships. And I think that creates a cycle of people repeating the toxic behaviors they see on TV, regardless of sexuality, and it also makes you realize that most mainstream content aimed at LGBT plus community, especially teenagers, is very much wrapped around sex. But will already talk more about it. But anyway, I'm loving this new generation of content that shows beautiful and healthy relationships with communication with real people. Please, let's encourage this type of content. James Somerson made a great video about queer optimism and talking about Heartstopper. I'll leave in the description. First of all, as much of the story has a lot of romantic cliches, it treats those cliches in a very refreshing and new way, and I love the writing and it was very well adapted. Yes, there were some changes from the comics, but I think they were for the good of the story, to make it work better in the series format, and some extra things that are also put in, but I also liked it how it was done. I think it respected the original story a lot and respected the audience a lot. I think part of the success of the adaptation, I mean, in the sense that it really pleased the fans and attracted a lot of new people who like the story, and that it was a very faithful and a phenomenal adaptation, is that the creator of the comics, Alice, was involved in the process, and that makes a great difference in the final product. One thing the story does very well, and when I talk about the story, I mean both the comics and the Netflix adaptation, is how it treats relationships between people. Charlie's relationship with Nick is a big part of the story. Yes, it's a teenage romance, but Heartstopper takes great care in developing friendships and family relationships and all the complexity that comes with that. Because human relationships are complicated and complex, and the show has a whole development of Nick realizing that his childhood friends have grown up to be a-holes and cretins, and he wants to be someone better than that and make new friends. And Tao, who is overprotective of Charlie, but sometimes unintentionally makes things worse. And Tori, who is Charlie's big sister, and she's perfect. And Nick's relationship with his mother, and Charlie's relationship with his parents, and there's the whole Tao relationship with Elle. Like, they really feel like they feel like real people, because they have these many complex relationships with other people that intertwine, and it's a side that is often overlooked in most of stories, and even good stories kinda ignore that. It's a feature of comics actually, in the comic format, that they allow you to explore a wider variety of characters and the stories that are intertwined. And the story is filled with these cute and iconic couple moments. And I mean, for straight people, it might not be a big deal, but the LGBT plus community doesn't have much of it. Yes, representation is much better in this decade, but these cute romance stories that don't trigger some people or have super explicit sex and scenes that have other uncomfortable things, the community isn't really used to having that yet, you know? There's not much of these iconic things for us. So it's really cute to have these emblematic scenes like their first kiss, and Nick's bike crisis is so good. And Nick wanting to hold Charlie's hand but not having the courage to do so. Charlie teaching Nick to play the drums, and Nicky letting Charlie borrow his jumper. The snowy day, the rain scene. Ah! take it. It's so cute. Seriously. And it's such a pure and innocent story. And honestly, 5 years ago, when I was still in high school, I think it was one of the only ones of its kind. It's okay to write hot and caliente stuff, but as an ace person, the narrative of a person who has barely started a relationship and already wants to screw someone is not something I can relate to. And for friends of mine who are definitely not asexual, and it's not something that reflects their experiences as teenagers. Yes, lots of people start their sex lives when they are still teenagers, but that's not the norm. And not only that, the overwhelming majority of stories targeting LGBT plus teenagers are very sexual stories, and that's so uncomfortable. And so, nothing against it. There are stories with this theme that are great, stories with this theme that I love, but sometimes I just want a cute story with a healthy relationship, and honestly, that's hard to find in any genre, but especially those aimed at LGBT plus teen audiences. And even with all this lightness and cuteness, there is still a lot of tension and serious themes in the story. It brings heavy subjects in a light way, and I really need more stories like that. It's not something focused on trauma and bad experiences. Yes, they exist. Trauma and bad experiences maybe haunt you, but it's about keep on living, keeping having hope, and keep on trying, dealing with your problems and enjoying the good times in life. And this series for me is proof that you can make stories that talk about serious and deep, intense, and even dramatic things in a more accessible way that doesn't make those who are watching depressed or extremely uncomfortable and with triggers. Because I feel like most of the stories that I've seen that talk about the LGBT plus people finding themselves out and having their stories and their trajectories told, and being bullied and struggling to accept themselves, and usually these stories make you worse after watching. Like, something that was supposed to relax and entertain you makes you feel terrible after watching, and that's not cool. And Heartstopper is there to prove that you can make something cute and light and colorful, but that is also deep and complex and talks about serious things in a delicate way. That is literally, and the next thing I'm talking about is something that happens in like the first 5 minutes of the story. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but Ben's toxic relationship with Charlie is something very real. And I think that really only those who had this LGBT experience of having someone using you, that when there's a person who is straight or someone who doesn't want to come out, fooling and deceiving a gay, bi, or pan person because of their own ego and curiosity about these new experiences, but will never assume you and maybe probably even have a real relationship, a real straight relationship. And or if you have family or friends who have been through this experience and see a person that you love so much suffering from it, it's terrible and it's very real. And now on a lighter thing, a lighter subject, Nick discovering his sexuality. The number of people who can identify with his crisis. Guys, you're not understanding how real this is. And like, this discovering process is a little scary, is a lonely process, is something only you can do for yourself, even though you have amazing people around you, but it was very well represented. And details that I liked on the series. I love the detail of the text messages and Nick's Google research, and I won't go into this too long to avoid the spoilers, but those who watch it understood me. And can we comment how Nicky uses his cute little dog to find an excuse to spend time with Charlie? An icon! I also liked how the series we see more from the point of view of Elle, Tara and Darcy, because I love them. And another nice thing the series is the reality that you don't come out of the closet just once. You come out of the closet multiple times and you are often caught off guard when you find yourself in a situation where you need to come out. And things don't always get easier the older you get. I mean, things definitely get easier the older you get, but this come out thing is something that you have to do multiple times, and it's frustrating and it's a delicate thing and it's very real, and it's something we don't see that much in media. Usually it's like, hey, I'm queer, and it's never brought up again. I'm never having to come out of the closet again. And that's not how it works. Now, about the characters and the cast. What is this cast? It's perfection. They are perfect. They look like Alice Oseman herself drawn them out. It's perfect! Nick and Charlie's actors made such perfect in-love faces and they have such cute chemistry. I honestly didn't think it was possible for two people to look at each other in such a cute way. And Charlie is this nerd, introverted boy who is also in the school band that loves games, and Nicky is basically the definition of a human golden retriever, and he's a sweetie for real, and he loves dogs, he's in the rugby team, and someone on the outside, he may not realize that, but he's a very cute and kind, sensible boy. He is so cute. And let's talk about Tao. Tao is a very special case to me because at the same time that he is so annoying, he's also wonderful to watch. The actor made such a good job that a character that it could easily be the most annoying one became a really fun character to watch. And his expressions are great. You guys are not understanding how much fun I had watching him. Tao is quite the complex character if you ask me. He is a good friend, but he's also extremely insecure and he is so afraid that he's going to be alone, of losing the people in his life, so afraid of changes that he throws these insecurities in his friends and makes him possessive of them. But he's the type of person who will lose good opportunities because he's insecure and afraid, and that's so real and very teenage-like. And someone give this boy some therapy. It will solve things. Now, Darcy and Tara. The girls look like they come out of Alice's comics, like straight out of the comics. Not really straight though. They look so much like the characters. Not only that, we got a chance to take a closer look at the characters. Tara is this kinda insecure and more on the introverted side, and she has an amazing family as it seems, and while Darcy is the complete opposite of that, bold and confident and extroverted, but with a toxic family environment, and both of them are in the school band and are super funny. And another girl that gained more depth with the series was Elle, who is a transgender girl who used to study at the boys' school but now is having to adapt to the girls' school, and she starts to become quite friendly with the girls, with Tara and Darcy, and create this new friendship with them, while she tries to balance her friendship with the boys at the other school, and she has this entire adaptation process. And there is also Tori, Charlie's sister, and she only appears in very punctual moments, but she's perfect, an icon, perfection. I love her so much. And guys, Nick's mom, there is an amazing scene with her, a really beautiful one, that I won't say much about it, but it's awesome. It's really beautiful. And the new character, Imogen, also brought a whole lot of complexity to the series. At first I was really afraid it was going to get boring, but she's a complex character. She and Nick have really good scenes, and I love their conversation scenes towards the end of the series. And speaking of new characters, poor Isaac was totally forgotten at the playground. But the story does such a good job of exploring various characters that I hope he'll be more important in possible future seasons. And he's not a character from the comics. I also hope that the other Alice stories will also be adapted. And as I said earlier, these are complex people with complex stories and many relationships with their complications. And that's where one of the great beauties of the series come in, which is how real and how palpable these characters are. It feels like a circle of friends I could have had in school, you know? But then, since we're talking about characters, what is a favorite character? I honestly don't know which mine is. I really love them all. Man, just a little pause before I talk about the last topic to remind you that if you like the video, and if you want to see more content like this, leave a like and subscribe on the channel, please. And now speaking real quick about the visual part of the series, because the sun is going down and it's starting to get real dark. And I just became obsessed with the 2D animation that blends in with the series, and I really want to see more of that, like these tiny cutesy little details, because it blended in so well and it reminded me so much of the comics, and it was so cute. And the colors and the aesthetics of the series are very nice too. It's all so beautiful, it's so colorful, it's so beautiful. The photography is divine, and editing of the series remembers a comic book style, something like Spider-Verse, and it's very well done. The visuals are so beautiful, seriously, so beautiful. This story is like a dose of serotonin straight into my veins. Well, not straight. I don't know, I think Heartstopper is one of those stories that makes me happy to be alive and to be able to see so much and have amazing people in my life and have stories to tell. And I definitely recommend it to everyone, and I really hope it gets renewed for another season. And anyway, that's it for today. I have to go now, so bye!